So Sucker Punch just released 18 minutes of new Ghost of Tsushima gameplay, giving us our first proper look at the structure of the game and showing us what we'll actually be doing minute to minute. The video gives quite a lot of information, some of it obvious and some of it less so. So I thought I'd do a quick analysis and talk about what the presentation tells us, as well as a few things I picked up that I haven't really seen anybody talking about. Exploration is the key to success for any open structure game, and certainly a large part of the winning formula Sony's first party games have used over the last few years. One of the most charming aspects of games like God of War or Horizon Zero Dawn is how the world is so investing that you want to explore, to see what's hiding under every rock and in every crevice. So it's good to see Sucker Punch placing so much of a focus on this aspect of the game. The demo gives us a pretty good indication of how large the map will be. This seems to be the upper section of the island, and if you cross-reference the width of the in-game map with the length of the real Tsushima, I think it gives us an idea of the scale of the area we'll be exploring. Like most other games, there seems to be a fog effect over unexplored areas, possibly indicating viewpoints similar to Assassin's Creed, as well as question marks for specific locations. In the upper right hand side we see a progress bar, which could be for a quest line, or more likely for the legend system, which I'll be talking about a bit later. On the lower right we see a quest marker with a character's face on it, indicating different characters will have their own quest lines, similar to something like Grand Theft Auto. It's a bit hard to tell from the map since their face is obstructed somewhat, but to me it looks like this could be Masako, the woman we saw in the E3 2018 demo. Next we get a look at the guiding wind, which basically substitutes a compass. You press a button that summons a gust of wind which points you in the direction of your destination. It was reported before that the game wouldn't have traditional waypoints, and this seems like a very interesting alternative. It's in keeping with the style of the game, and in my opinion, for the sake of immersion, the less clutter on screen the better. There are materials you can collect like bamboo, yew wood and linen, presumably for crafting arrows and armor. We also see what looks like a bear attack, which is likely a random event, but may also mean there will be a hunting system for pelts. Certain areas are labelled as Mongol territories, which seems to indicate some kind of a liberation system, with each region being under a certain amount of Mongol control.
Get out of here, Mongolian!
My guess is liberating places like farmhouses and clearing out enemy encampments will lower the Mongols' grip on the region, making running into them less frequent and the area safer to travel through. Sucker Punch used a similar system in infamous Second Son with the DUP, where every objective completed in a certain region lowered the enemy's control over it, and completing all objectives liberated that area completely. This would certainly be in keeping with the narrative of the game, since it is a story about fighting back an invading force. Farmsteads and enemy camps have optional objectives, and you also get materials for completing these, as well as an increase in your legend status. Smokestacks on the horizon indicate people in need, similar to a mechanic used in Red Dead Redemption 2. There's definitely a focus on visual indicators as opposed to icons and waypoints, and my favourite example of this is the game's use of animals. Birds will lead you to various points of interest in hidden locations, and foxes will lead you to shrines, which when prayed to can then serve as fast travel points, and discovering shrines is required to earn more charm slots, the game's version of boosters that we'll see later in the video. What I love about this use of animals is it lends the game's world a sense of mysticism and spirituality without delving straight into fantasy. Also practically, it means players will be able to find everything in the game's world, including hidden items and collectibles, without the use of guides or walkthroughs. Jin passes a man on the side of the road talking about vengeful spirits, which is likely a side quest. We also see Jin overlooking part of the island, while playing what I assume is a shakuhachi, a traditional bamboo flute of the period, which we saw played by Cornelius Boots before the E3 2018 demo. My guess would be that this is a viewpoint, and when Jin reaches one, he plays the flute, and that lifts the fog over that area of the map. So the game has two playstyles, the first of which is the samurai, focusing on direct combat. There's a standoff system where Jin calls out an enemy and challenges them. We also see a button prompt to hold triangle, so I assume releasing it initiates the first strike. On the bottom left we can see 9 yellow circles with an L1 and R1 prompt above it. Now I watched this fight a few times, and at first I thought this might be for instant kills, but 9 seemed a bit too many to give the player at once, so after watching a bit more closely, they seem to either be cinematic or gruesome finishers, since one is used to initiate a move where Jin cuts off a Mongol's arm, or it's a strong sweep move used to break an enemy's block, instantly killing anyone not defending when struck by it. Whatever these are used for, attacking enemies appears to replenish them. Jin can also block arrows with his sword, which could have easily come across as goofy, but I think the game makes it look plausible. And there's also several fighting stances like stone and water that you can swap between depending on what enemy type you're facing. So now we get a look at the second playstyle, the Ghost. More stealth focused and more reliant on ninja-esque tactics. We see Jin use both a wind chime and firecrackers to distract enemies, and a smoke bomb when he's spotted to stun. We also see two types of bow, the half bow and the long bow, with the half bow quicker to draw and the long bow providing a more powerful shot. One interesting thing I noticed is that this is supposed to be the same mission demonstrated using the different playstyles, but the objectives are actually different for each. Now I doubt the game will make you choose a playstyle before tackling enemy camps, so I'm assuming it's determined either by what armor you're wearing, or whether you're tackling it day or night. We see the chain assassination again. Stronger enemy types are labelled slaughter instead of assassinate, which I assume is because they're too powerful to be killed instantly. Jin also has kunai, which are a type of Japanese throwing knife, and can throw multiple at once. Another thing I noticed is that while playing as the Ghost, Jin has a third medium-sized sword in his back, which might indicate the ability to dual wield. Like I mentioned before, the game has a legend system. The higher your legend meter is, the more afraid of you the Mongols will be, possibly causing them to act irrationally during combat, making them more easy to attack during stealth, or more likely to run away from you. We saw Arkham Asylum do something similar to this on a much smaller scale, where the more enemies you dispatched in an area, the more terrified the remaining enemies would be. But this was restricted to the area you're in. We see Jin let an enemy escape, which I hope means allowing one to run away will give you a legend boost, since they'll be telling their comrades of the horror they just witnessed. Next we get a look at customization. You can choose what kind of armor Jin wears, gearing it towards what playstyle you're approaching a situation with, and you can customize your sword hilt. Flowers can also be collected to dye your armor. You get a deeper look at the charm system mentioned before, giving you boosts like regenerative health, or adding a poison mist to the wind chimes. And you can swap these out at any time to best suit the situation you're in. Like the animals, these add a nice sense of mysticism, while still keeping the setting grounded in reality. Technique points are mentioned vaguely, so we know there's an upgrade tree, which raises my biggest question about the game. Does it encourage experimentation, or should you pick one playstyle and stick with it? Does unlocking an upgrade for the Ghost playstyle lock off a corresponding one for the Samurai? The reason I ask is because in Infamous there's a karma system, good karma and bad karma, which is influenced both by how you play and what decisions you make in the story. And this affects everything from how you look, how people in the world react to you, and what kind of powers you unlock. If you're playing as a hero, it doesn't benefit you in any way to make a bad karma decision, and vice versa. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Ghost of Tsushima implements a similar system. There's pros and cons to this. On the one hand, it encourages multiple playthroughs, but it also discourages you from switching up your tactics. From what we've seen from other trailers, embracing the persona of the Ghost seems to be a big part of Jin's character arc in the story. The game is called Ghost of Tsushima after all, and while you can choose how to approach side missions and enemy camps, I can imagine story missions either being designed more towards one playstyle, or outright forcing you to use one. We also get a look at the game's photo mode, which you can tell a lot of effort went into. You can have Jin remain still while keeping the environmental effects in motion, and you can change everything from the direction and strength of the wind to what type of leaves are falling around you. You can also make videos, which technically you can do in any photo mode if you hit record instead of screenshot and rotate the camera around, but this game actually gives you a compelling reason to do so. I really hope you can export videos through the game itself and use them as dynamic themes for your PS4 background. I'd love to see a shot of Jin standing dramatically in the rain every time I boot up my PS4. The game also has a Japanese voice track that you can select from the start. Again, a feature basically every AAA game has. But like the video feature, the game gives you a compelling reason to use it. Unfortunately, the lip sync doesn't match, but that's understandable, since it would require either mocapping the entire game twice, or having the facial animators painstakingly animated by hand.
お侍様の戦い方じゃない。
何を申す?
To complement the Japanese track, the game also has a samurai cinema mode, which adds a black and white filter, film grain, and more melodramatic weather effects, like heavier wind and rain. I am curious how this mode will work around coloured indicators, like the bear attack icon for example. I've seen a lot of people saying they're going to play the game from the start in this mode, which is great if that's how you want to experience it, but for my first playthrough I'm going to stick to the vanilla version, so I can enjoy the colourful environments and performances. It's definitely a compelling reason to go back through the game again. It's cool to see Sucker Punch leaning so heavily into the cinematic influences of the game. Hopefully there's a new game plus, since I'd hate to have to start again without my armor and upgrades. I was already excited for Ghost of Tsushima, but now that we actually know what we'll be doing for a majority of the game, July 17th can't come fast enough. What are your thoughts on the game? Are you going to liberate Tsushima as the Ghost or the Samurai? In English or Japanese? Colour or black and white? Let me know in the comments below. I have a new video every week, so if you enjoyed this and you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.